Hello ladies and gentlemen, this is Navy and I wanted to welcome you to another video where I am going to read 3 stories from the subreddit r/relationships. I do not know why I chose this subreddit because because I am anyway, I do not know what that was, so let's not waste any more time and get right into it. First title being my 28M Indian parents are unhappy and do not approve of my non-Indian partner 29F but will reluctantly allow us to marry. Now all I feel is guilt and hesitation. Need some advice please. I will try to keep all the background and context as short as I can. I, 28M, have lived in America with my Bangla Muslim parents since 2004. My whole life I have been told by my parents that they sacrificed everything to come to America and that I should be grateful for the life they provided me, which I am. I started dating when I was around 19. When my parents found out about my then Sri Lankan Hindu girlfriend, to keep it short, they strongly disapproved, refused to let me into the house, refused to feed me, the house turned into a war zone, and my relationship with my parents strained very badly. After a month, I eventually told them I broke up with her. I was still in uni and could not support myself, which settled things again. Before eventually breaking up with her 1 or 2 years later. After being traumatized of dating, I did not date again until I was 23 or 24. The experience made my parents realize they could lose me, so they started being encouraged to dating, hoping I get married eventually. I ended up dating an American woman. By this point, I had developed a better relationship with my parents, especially my mother, and so for my sake, they reluctantly accepted it. For the time I dated her, my parents were accepting and seemed okay with it. For unrelated reasons, I broke up with her. With this news, my parents were overjoyed and broke their silence. They were so thankful for the breakup because they did not approve of the huge cultural difference and hoped that I pursue a woman with similar culture to ours. Again, several years later, around 2022, I met my current partner, currently 29F. She is Indian Muslim, and I am much happier with her, at peace, and we have been actively discussing marriage. We both make a lot of money and are fully set into our careers. I told my mother about her when I first started dating her. I recently introduced her to my parents given we are at a serious stage and wanting to move forward with marriage. However, since introducing her to my parents have just made terrible comments about her. Stuff like, her skin is too dark, she is too short, 12 inches of height between us, Indian Muslims are not real Muslims, plus too different to Bangla Muslims, and I am far a better partner than her in all departments. Horrible comments. The worst one was, she, 29, is too old, I am 28, and a marrying woman should be less than 25. Therefore, they are very unhappy and do not fully approve of my partner. But they will reluctantly allow us to marry if that is what I want. They keep insisting they are being supportive but expressing their views because they love me. My parents' views have upset me greatly. I ended up having a massive spar with them for speaking about my partner that way, and I am staying with a friend for a few days. They have said such terrible comments. I honestly thought my parents would be more approving since my partner is more aligned with our culture. But the way they spoke about her is just horrible. They keep insisting on the phone that they are telling me the truth about her because they love me and don't believe they have done anything wrong. They also keep insisting they will begrudgingly move ahead and that is the same as a full blessing. I have no idea why, but I also feel a crippling feeling of guilt now staying with my partner since my parents do not fully approve who has done nothing wrong. I hate that my mind has been polluted and poisoned by their comments, and I hate myself for not being able to brush off their comments. I eventually told them that the news is new and for them to think on the news for a few weeks since maybe it was a shock to them. In the meantime, I have no idea on what to do with the feeling of guilt and feel horrible for my poor partner who has done nothing wrong, because I feel unsure of my relationship all of a sudden. Any advice or words of wisdom would be very appreciated. Well, I do not really know what kind of advice you would need because you will never get over the feeling of guilt even though your parents and your partner would get along well. What I can say is that you need to accept that your parents will not 100% approve of the marriage because of the cultural difference and leave your parents be. They did not sacrifice everything just to get you to the US. They did it for them also. And now to the next story. Daughter 28F moved in with me 51M 2 years ago, bringing 2 kids under 2, now doesn't want to get a job nor maintain the cleanliness of my home. Daughter, piece of crap husband, slept around on her, she left him and moved in with me in 2022, bringing 2 special needs kids under 2. They ran her ragged and she's giving into whatever will get them to stop crying, meaning no fixed sleep schedule, eating junk because she won't do what it takes to make them to eat healthy, potty training and whining. She also doesn't really stop her kids from trashing my house. I've taken over a lot of the discipline and other harder aspects of rearing her children. I was in a position at the time to help her get a replacement as she wasn't working. I bought the car. Same with the car insurance thing, I'm paying. Her mother died when she was 12 and I took full custody of her and her siblings. My kids didn't handle her death well and I kinda raised them with kid gloves, much to their detriment. Of my 3 children, she, the oldest, was always difficult, quick to blame others for her problems and unable to accept responsibility for her actions. She was a mediocre housekeeper in high school, same mediocre now. I have joked with others that she inherited the worst traits her mother and I had. Housing, feeding and clothing an extra 3 people is expensive. When I recently told her she needed to get a job so she could take over her car insurance, she convinced my parents to put her car on their insurance and they take that responsibility. I told her I have no issues watching her kids in the evenings so she can work. To qualify for daycare credits, my state has mandated a 30-hour a week. While I love her and my grandkids, I think I've been accommodating long enough. I've created this monster and don't really know how to get out of it, and input is appreciated. Not wanting to get a job at 28 is crazy, but kicking her out is not that good of a solution. What I would say for you to do in this situation is giving her a deadline because you cannot continue like that. Of course, you will not kick her out for now, but at least she is put under pressure and you can see how she reacts to that. Now to the last story. I, 38F, briefly entertained cheating on my husband. Hi, I'm new here, but I need some help and I don't really have anyone in my personal life I feel comfortable talking about this to. I, 38F, have been married to my husband for 13 years. We have 2 kids and I can truly say he is the love of my life. I am fully satisfied emotionally and physically. Which is why what happened to me recently has shaken me up so much. A new guy, good looking, fit, cocky, started at my law firm not so long ago, and it didn't take long for him to begin flirting with me. It was tame in the beginning, nothing I haven't gotten before. So I let it go. And if I'm being honest, it made me feel good to be desired by an attractive man, even though I am married to a very attractive man. But over time the flirting turned from tame to rather forward and I began to feel uncomfortable, but I didn't stop it. I just didn't engage anymore. When he made a comment, I just changed the subject. Then one night I was working late and he came by my office and asked me if I wanted to go grab a drink. I declined, said I had to finish and get home. Then he told me that anything we did would just be between us. Nobody would have to know. But rather than being disgusted by this, I froze and for a brief moment I considered it. I wasn't concerned with catching feelings for this guy, so I thought I could go back to his apartment, have very dirty sex with him and take it to the grave. Then I snapped out of it and thought of how I would never be able to look at my husband in the face again. I became disgusted with myself. So I told him that if he ever talked to me about anything other than work, I am going to HR. I went home and told my husband. He wasn't too upset over it. I was honest that I didn't stop the flirting when I should have, that I liked it and that I considered his proposition for a brief moment, but he still wasn't upset with me. He wasn't happy with me but appreciated my honesty. Now as for my coworker. That's a different story. I had to stop him from confronting him. In the end, I gave my 2 weeks notice and I am interviewing with new firms now. My husband said it wasn't cheating, but it was something. Does anyone consider brief thoughts that go in your mind cheating? What about flirting? Does anyone think I need to see a therapist? I love my husband and I am very still attracted to him. How did I let my mind go there? Well, this kind of means that there is something missing, but if you say that your husband is the perfect man for you, I do not really know what to say. There is always an urge to do something that you should not. This is how people function. But don't worry as long as nothing happens and you can control your actions. So that is all. Do not forget to like, subscribe and ring that bell. Have a nice morning, evening or night depending on where you are.